One positive way we rebels rebel is to constantly push, to persistently challenge, to strive for change. I'd like to talk about this quiet rebellion at the level of one. You, me, the individual. I'd like us to think about how we persistently challenge ourselves, how we strive for change, to develop ourselves as a whole person. Think about Tabby. Tabby speaks 2 languages fluently. She sees the world more broadly than I do with only 1 language. Consider Trevor. He plays 2 instruments. He plays them competitively and proficiently. He has the ability to process complex information in ways someone who doesn't play an instrument or someone who doesn't read music processes information. Think about Tracy. Tracy has traveled to San Francisco, LA, New York City. She sees the United States more deeply, more completely than someone who's never left their hometown or traveled at all. These 3 simple examples, instruments, language, travel, they illustrate the positive personal impact of requisite variety in its simplest, most practical terms. By intentionally seeking out and embracing personal, positive experiential learning, we see the world differently. We embrace the world differently because we're experiencing the diversity of doing. Rather than avoiding change and following the path of least resistance, perhaps we should consider embracing change and taking the path of most resistance, the path that leads to greater requisite variety and greater personal creative self-discovery. This is a picture of me in college. Yes, that's me in 1985 with my friend Brandon. I first came in contact with the concept of requisite variety back in college. I heard the term in an undergraduate psychology course, but I experienced requisite variety in the way my university went about the educational process. It was a small liberal arts college, and their mission was and is to educate the whole person. So, as a result, we were required to attend opera and Shakespeare and religious vespers, and we were required to take public speaking, even though you might not be able to tell at the moment. We were challenged to take, or required to take, physical education courses. I once took a class in fencing. That's my wife judging in the background there. She's a cutie. I've never been so sore in all my life. If you haven't ever fenced, it's very demanding physically. But it was a great experience. Though I admit at the time I didn't fully understand or appreciate the breadth of the experiences I was having, what I was essentially getting, in addition to my accounting degree, was a double minor in requisite variety. They were intent on educating me as a whole person so that I could go out into the world and hopefully make a positive difference. Perhaps we should think of the whole planet as one extended postgraduate program in requisite variety, course after course of potentially interesting and meaningful new experiences that build potential and add positive new perspectives to improve the quality of our experiences over time. Think of it as Requisite Variety University, and you're all enrolled. Requisite variety, you can think of it as an elaborate fabric sieve. Each new experience that's added adds a new strand to the fabric and strengthens the whole fabric so that when new experiences are poured on, we have the ability to assimilate and capture more meaning, more value, more beauty from each new experience. So what is requisite variety? Well, here's one textbook definition that I found on the world's most dependable reference available, the internet, on a very prestigious website for timeless wisdom called businessballs.com. This definition was offered up by an MBA called Robert Smith. He offered this: the law of requisite variety. The individual with the widest range of behaviors or variability of choice possesses the greatest ability to influence the quality of their own experience in the moment and through time. Interesting. Another way to put it is, the wider your experience is, the better your experiences are. In a related article on the World Wide Web, I found some insights from Martin Thompson, expert in people development and in experience-based learning. He said, and I quote, "Those who experience experiential learning develop as individuals. They develop their confidence, their self-esteem, personal strengths, a crucially rounded sense of purpose and fulfillment which fundamentally improve attitude, life balance, and emotional well-being. Who wouldn't want some of that? Sounds pretty positive. He went on to say, these immensely important outcomes are just as important for sustainable, productive work and a healthy society as the essential skills and knowledge typically represented in a conventional education. In other words, according to Dr. Martin, spending a day here at TEDx listening to interesting talks on a variety of topics is potentially more developmentally helpful than any single day at Georgetown or GW. Something that every student here already knew. You already got that or you wouldn't be here. So when we seek out new ideas and new experiences, we expand our perception of the world. We build capacity for improving our lives in ways that our otherwise commonplace routines cannot. I'm going to suggest 3 categories that have been helpful in my life to building new experiences and enriching my requisite variety. First, let's talk about travel. No matter what people may say, travel is not primarily glamorous. It's physically and emotionally demanding. It can be exhausting. But international travel in particular has the potential to provide a unique kind of requisite variety that will deepen our understanding of culture, diversity, and the world. During spring break last month, my son and I, a student here at GW, we took spring break in Asia, visited 4 countries in 8 days. In that short span of time, together we visited the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. Ricky hiked around the peak in Hong Kong. He visited on a bus by himself. He went to see the old Dutch city center in Jakarta. And together we took a subway to the Modern Museum of Art in Tokyo. This week was an intense dose of requisite variety and, of course, some great father-son memories as well. Once we were traveling together as a family, and I asked our 2 children, if we had a family motto, what would our family motto be? Ricky, who was 14 at the time, he thought about it and he said, Dad, I think if we had a family motto, it would be this: we value experience over acquisition. Not bad for a 14-year-old. That was when I knew that requisite variety, which we talked about as a family, had begun to take root in our family culture. One more thing with respect to travel. In order to push myself to experience more and add more requisite variety through travel, I've set a personal goal for myself to visit 60 countries by the time I turn 60. Now, I picked up 2 new countries on the spring break tour, and I'm now at 35 countries. But next month I turn 50, so I'm really going to have to pick up the pace for the next 10 years. It should be a lot of fun. The next category I'd like for us to consider is the arts. Now, this is a very personal topic, what you like and don't like, and there's hundreds of genres and subgenres of the arts. But I do want to recommend to you that you explore the arts as a source of meaningful requisite variety. Experience Italian opera, Shakespeare, read modern poetry, read fantasy short stories. These new and different experiences will develop your mind and develop you as a whole person. Classical music, even in moderation, will give you requisite variety that your normal Spotify selections and Parks and Recreation will not. But you say, I don't like whatever it is, fill in the blank, country music, line dancing, ballet, foreign films, whatever the genre is. They say, try it, you might like it. Sometimes you don't like it, but it adds experience, it adds perspective, and it enriches your life if you'll let it. My wife and I once saw Hamlet in Vienna in German. It was painful. But we were way up in the nosebleed section. We could barely even see the stage, but I'll never, ever forget it. I've seen Hamlet half a dozen times, but I'll never forget that one. The point is, if we intentionally push ourselves to experience new things, even new things we don't initially like, the cultural and cognitive benefits are well worth the investment. I recommend it to you. Finally, leverage work. Fortunately or unfortunately, we spend most of our lives in our career, our work. But think about work as a source of requisite variety. You know, we're all free agents. We choose where and with whom and what kind of work we do. I've worked, as the introducer mentioned, some very large companies like Shell Oil, a $200 billion company, McDonald's, $100 billion company, some other smaller companies. And currently, I'm the CEO of a small but growing chain of elevation burger franchises. Yeah, thank you. That's some good food. I'm glad you like it. In my career, I've done a lot of different disciplines. I've done accounting and marketing and finance and operations, and now I'm a CEO. And as I mentioned, even this last year as CEO, almost every day, some new and important experience, most of them positive, have added to my perspective. Probably the best example, though, of intentional experiential learning was my first career move at McDonald's. I had been a controller for 6 years, a CPA in a region. And they invited me to go out in the restaurants and work full-time as part of an operations training program. So I started there as a trainee, and then an assistant manager, a store manager, and then a supervisor. Worked in the stores for 2 years full-time. And when I look back on my almost 30 years of a career, those were perhaps 2 of the most difficult years, and some of the richest in terms of learning and requisite variety. Almost every day I had some new experience that tested my limits and helped create a framework for me to think about customer service and leadership and operational excellence. It was a great experience, and I'm very thankful for it. Because of the breadth of my career and the different requisite variety I've had, I've lived in Nashville and Kansas City and Chicago and Houston and DC. All of this adds up to a lot of requisite variety. I think it helps me experience things more richly, more deeply, and it helps me be a better leader and a better equipped CEO. So, when we consciously and intentionally choose to seek out new, uncomfortable, and unique experiences, we add requisite variety to our lives, and we rebel against our own latent, lazy, fearful, complacent tendencies, and we grow, we learn, and we change. Think of requisite variety as your own personal access point to alternate realities. Ricky made that slide for me. All of the slides, actually. Thank you, Ricky. Consider getting a bit radical with your choices. Reject your own status quo. Rethink the boundaries of what experiences are possible. Rebel against your own recurring normative choices. Consider crafting your own story of conscious, quiet rebellion. If you do, I guarantee it will enrich your lives in ways you never imagined possible. Thank you.